Fur might look scary at first, but here's the truth. It's actually one of the easiest textures once you understand the system. And today I'll show you how to get it right with just 3 steps: base, dark fur and light fur. So let's get started. Most beginners make it way harder than it needs to be. They think drawing fur is just a matter of sketching hundreds of straight lines. Nope, that never works. Fur is not a barcode. Fur has layers, flow and direction. And today, I'll show you how to get it right with just 3 steps: base, dark fur and light fur. Start by creating a soft base with graphite powder and a dry brush. Put more powder where the shadows sit and less where the highlights will go. Blend in tiny circular motions to avoid streaks. Think of this base as the skin under the fur. If it's smooth and balanced, your fur will sit naturally on top. Beginners often make this mistake of going too dark in highlight areas. That makes lifting clean fur later almost impossible. You can avoid it by keeping light zones lighter from the start, so eraser strokes pop instantly. Now the second step is to add the dark fur because this will give your drawing structure. Pick up your 8B pencil, hold it at a low angle and start flicking short strokes that taper at the ends. Begin with clusters of shorter hairs. Then layer a few longer ones on top so it looks like real fur overlapping. Here's a golden rule. Randomness is your best friend. If every stroke is the same length and direction, your fur will end up looking like a wooden fence instead of something soft and alive. Mix it up and add some shorter strokes, some medium and a few longer ones sneaking through. A big mistake beginners make is pressing too hard and dragging the pencil. That gives you thick, heavy lines with no taper. Instead, think of it like you flick dust off your abandoned course book, light at the end, so every stroke naturally fades into a thin tip. And don't forget to change your wrist movement as you go. Fur doesn't grow straight up like grass in a field. It curves, overlaps, and sometimes even looks messy. If all your strokes look like they've been combed in one direction, your animal will start looking like it just left a barber shop, which is not exactly the realism we're going for. Another tip is to keep your pencil sharp but not needle sharp. A slightly rounded tip gives you softer and natural strokes, while a super pointy one can make the fur look scratchy. By the way, if you're a complete beginner and you keep throwing away your drawings because you feel like you just can't draw, it's not your fault. You just don't know the basics yet. And that's exactly why I made this full course, to help you go from shaky lines to realistic drawings step by step. It covers everything from basic lessons to advanced techniques, tips and tricks, all structured in a clear step-by-step format, so you don't have to guess your way through it. Thousands of students are already learning and growing through the course, and it's currently one of the top-rated drawing courses on Udemy. I put my course on sale for 5 days every month just for my YouTube family. Check the link in the description or comments to see if the sale is live right now, and get enrolled before it ends. Okay, now the third step is where the magic really happens, which is pulling out the light fur and bringing it to life. Grab your Mono Zero eraser, place it on the paper, flick and lift. It's the same motion as we did with the pencil, but this time you're not adding graphite. You're carving out light. Think of it like you're sketching with brightness instead of darkness. Go for longer flicks when you want those flowing tufts of fur and shorter, sharper ones for the softer, fuzzy areas. Here's where many beginners slip up. They either make every stroke the same size or they forget to taper the ends. Real fur is playful and imperfect. Some strands cross over, some fade halfway, and some shoot longer than the rest. Embrace that chaos because that's what gives it realism. Another pro tip is to keep your eraser squeaky clean. Rub it on scrap paper or sandpaper after every few strokes. A clean eraser gives you crisp, shining strands, while a dirty one just leaves chalky smudges. It's like trying to wipe a mirror with a muddy rag, and it's not the result you want. And here's a fun little mindset shift. Imagine you're a barber, but instead of cutting hair, you're pulling it out of the shadows. Every stroke you flick is like revealing a hidden strand that was already there under the graphite. That's why this step feels so satisfying. You're not just drawing fur, you're uncovering it. Now here's the beauty. That same three-step process, base, dark fur, light fur works everywhere, no matter where the fur is. The only thing that changes is how short, long or dense your strokes are. Let's break it down area by area. Starting with the ears. Here the fur is a mixture of longer and shorter ones with some overlapping randomly. So flick your strokes tighter and layer highlights close together in some areas. And then add random individual fur strokes to finish it more realistically. At the very edge, make the rim a little more prominent so the ear pops forward against the background. A mistake beginners often make here is outlining the ear with a single dark line. Don't do that. Real fur doesn't grow in outlines. Instead, build the edge with bright highlights and tiny overlapping fur strokes, like you're stitching threads together. Now let's move to the eyes portion. Around the eyes, fur is tiny and delicate. Keep strokes very short, almost needle-like, and curve them to follow the eyelid. And here's a common question. Why do my fur strokes look like spikes? The answer is usually pressure. You're pressing too hard and not lifting at the end of your stroke. Think of it like writing with a fountain pen. Press, glide, then lift gently to get that perfect taper. And if the hairs start lining up too neatly, just throw in a stray stroke. Nature loves randomness. Next is the cheeks. This is where the fur gets fuller and softer. Mix in medium and long strokes and don't be shy about overlapping them. The fun part here is that a little messiness actually works in your favor. If you make everything too neat, your cheeks will look flat. Fluffiness comes from controlled chaos. So vary the direction slightly and let some strands crisscross. Imagine ruffling your hair in the mirror. No two strands fall the same way. And that's exactly the look you want here. Now let's slide down to the nose. This area is a little different because the fur gets much shorter and sparser here, so you have to adjust your strokes. Instead of long flicks like you used on the cheeks or forehead, keep your strokes short, sharp, and spaced apart. Think of them as little stubs of fur peeking through. From the center ridge of the nose, the left side tilts slightly left and the right side tilts right, almost like two tiny rivers splitting and flowing in opposite directions. Following that natural tilt is what makes the fur look believable. If you just draw all the hairs straight down or in the same direction, the nose will immediately look flat and lifeless. To make it even more natural, sprinkle in a few slightly longer hairs here and there so the transition into the cheek fur feels seamless. Don't make every stroke identical, as randomness is your friend. Varying the length, spacing, and direction is what gives the area that authentic and slightly messy texture. Also keep your pressure under control. A heavy hand here will create harsh, blocky lines. And instead of short fur, you'll end up with something that looks more like scratches. Light pressure at the tip of each stroke helps keep them needle-fine and realistic. And here's a quick extra touch. Tap a few tiny pores with your electric eraser. Just vary the pressure so some dots look bold and others look subtle. Think of it like sprinkling sugar on a cake. If every grain is the same size, it looks fake. But when some shine brighter and others stay soft, the texture feels alive. You can refine a few dots with your B pencil, slim some down, shade around others, and vary their depth. This mix of crisp eraser marks and subtle pencil touches gives the nose a natural, realistic texture. Finally comes the body. This is where the fur stretches out and grows longer. Extend your eraser flicks, spacing them out in shadowed zones and clustering them tighter where light hits. Also, the body fur can be straighter or more wavy, depending on the animal. So always adjust your strokes to match the natural flow in your reference. The mistake I see most often, people make every hair the same length like a row of matchsticks. Don't fall into that trap. Some strokes should be brighter, some softer, some longer and shorter. That randomness is what makes the fur look alive. Think of it as conducting an orchestra. Not every instrument plays the same note, but together they create harmony. Now let's talk about creating that soft, blurry fur texture you often see on the back of the body. And your best friend here is the perfection eraser. Instead of going in with sharp, crisp strokes, Flick the eraser lightly in slanted motions, so the strands look softer and less defined. Layer these strokes gently, letting them fade into the base rather than stand out. The key is to create a hazy impression of fur, not detailed strands, so keep your pressure light and strokes random. This way the back looks naturally blurred, almost like it's slipping out of focus, while the front details stay crisp and sharp. Think of it as painting with light, where softness adds depth and distance. From scratchy lines to realistic fur, we've built a stag that almost feels alive. Every stroke adds character, so grab your tools and bring your own drawing to life. If you found this useful, hit like to support more free tutorials. And if you're an absolute beginner and want to learn drawing from scratch, you can join my course here. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.